A 10% one-time super tax will be imposed on large-scale industries in a bid to shore up revenues to support the country's poor amid rising inflation. The government has also imposed a poverty alleviation tax on individuals with a high net worth. On today's episode of Spotlight, we explore the feasibility of the new taxes and their impact on the business community.
No, I think if you look at the budget speech and the wind-up budget speech of the finance minister, what the government has been trying to do is to impose the direct taxes. And probably this is for the first time that around the overwhelming majority of the additional taxation measures are on account of the direct taxes. These are progressive in nature, although this will pass on the additional impact on the companies and on the people earning big amount of money every year. I just want to also clarify that making profit is not a crime, but in these special circumstances, probably the government did not have any other choice but to increase the tax burden of the people earning more than rupees 150 million a year, or the corporate sector companies. The 13 sectors have been targeted specifically because their gains were huge and unprecedented in the given circumstances. Additional taxation would help the government to achieve the FBR's revised new tax collection target of rupees 7,470 billion, and which is around rupees 66 billion more than what had been announced in the budget speech. So this is a good move in a way. It is a progressive taxation. It is on the income of these companies.
The country's business community is largely going to be affected under the new taxes. We asked businessman Arif Habib how the business community views the government's decision.
I think it is not justified, but you see that government in fact thought they will be able to raise some taxes from the corporate sector, large corporate sector, and they decided for that. So I think the industry would not mind in contributing a one-time tax because Pakistan is in need of these additional revenues just to qualify the IMF program. So if it is one time, I think it would be acceptable to them, but it should not be recurring, and the legislation should be in such a way that this tax expires at the end of the year.
Soon after the Prime Minister's announcement of imposing new taxes, the Pakistan Stock Exchange crashed.
Yeah, you see, the initial impact has been negative, and market one time was declined by 2,000 points, and at that time there was some confusion about the rate of taxes because the market participants were thinking that this tax is in addition to the 4% tax which they have in fact levied on profits up to 300 billion rupees. It was clarified that there was also a misunderstanding that this tax is also leviable on banks, but that is not there. So then in the second half, the market recovered a little bit, but at the close, market was down by 1,600 points. So it is not very well for the market, but you see, as the market start to understand the positive effect that if the government's finances are strengthened, that would in fact re-rate the valuation of the market. So I believe that with the confirmation of IMF program, the receipt of the Chinese remittances of $2.3 billion, that I think would help in recovering the stock market.
Since the sectors being taxed provide services and products, we wonder whether there will be a trickle-down effect on the consumers.
Companies will not pass on the impact of the additional taxation on the consumer because this is on their income, not on their consumption or on their inventory.
There will be no trickle-down effect in that respect, but you see that if the government is able to raise the additional revenues, that will in fact reduce the deficit financing. And already the deficit financing percentage is very high of Pakistan. So if it will come down, it will then help and would also help in a way that it will also contribute in reducing the rate of inflation as well.
Although the government has taxed major profit-making sectors, yet the agriculture sector remains conspicuously missing.
I think that is unfortunate. There should not be any income exempted from tax, because wherever there is a income or above a threshold, that must be taxed. So I think probably because most of the parliamentarians are from the agriculture sector, so they protect their own sector. So this may be one of the reasons. But I think until and unless the Pakistan begins to tax the agriculture sector, they will not be in fact able to improve its tax to GDP ratio.
But does the federal government even have the authority to tax agriculture sector?
Look, agriculture is a contentious issue in Pakistan. Under the Constitution of Pakistan, the federal government cannot impose taxes on the agriculture income. So any taxation related to the agriculture income has to be imposed and collected by the provincial government. So it does not fall in the domain of the federal government.
So far, the government's policies have not received much flack from the business community. But is this the silence before a storm? And will there be pushback in the coming weeks? We asked Shabaz Rana.
I think they may try to push back, but probably they will not have any justification, because these are the sectors that made huge profit during past couple of years because of global supply chain disruption, the short supplies. So the sectors that were quick to adopt the changes, they made huge profits. And if you could recall, our former Prime Minister and our former Finance Minister, they would tweet that the sectors and the companies registered at the Pakistan Stock Exchange made at 100 billions of rupees in profit. So these were the sectors that were targeted, and probably they may not have a big issue with these additional 10% taxation, and this is also only for 1 year.